In March 2026, Indonesia's Center for Volcanology raised the alert level at Anak Krakatau to level 3, the second highest on a 4-level scale. Dense gray ash plumes are rising up to 2.5 kilometers above the summit. Incandescent material is being ejected from the vent. The exclusion zone has been extended to 5 kilometers in every direction. This is the same island that, in December 2018, generated a tsunami without a single earthquake to warn of it, killing 437 people while a band was still playing at a beach concert. And it is the child of the volcano that, in 1883, produced the loudest sound in recorded human history and killed 36,000 people before noon. What made the 2018 disaster uniquely terrifying was not the scale, it was the silence. Tsunami warning systems in the region are designed to detect one thing: seafloor displacement caused by earthquakes. Seismometers listen for the specific signature of a fault rupturing. On December 22, 2018, there was no such signature. The southwest flank of Krakatau's volcanic cone failed structurally. A section the size of a small mountain simply slid into the ocean in a matter of minutes. That collapse displaced the water. 24 minutes later, the first waves arrived on the coast of Banten province in Java. 33 minutes after that, they reached Lampung in Sumatra. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center detected nothing. The early warning system had no category for what had just happened. The people on that beach, in those hotels, in those villages, had not a single second of warning. This was not because the monitoring failed. It was because the systems were looking for the wrong thing entirely. The southwest face of the cone was steep and weakly consolidated, built up from loose volcanic material deposited over decades of eruptions. Volcanologists had warned in academic papers as early as 2012 that a flank collapse was possible and could generate a tsunami with no seismic warning. The University of Oregon published a specific analysis identifying the risk. The warnings did not reach public emergency planning or updated evacuation protocols. On December 22nd, approximately 150 to 180 million cubic meters of material, roughly 2/3 of the island's above sea level volume, slid into the Sunda Strait during an eruptive phase that had been running since June. The tsunami warning system covering the Indian Ocean and the Pacific had been built specifically to prevent what happened in 2004. It detected nothing, not a tremor, not a fault signature, not a single data point that its algorithms were designed to act on. The first sign for most people was a roaring sound from the sea. By the time they understood what that sound meant, the waves were already there. To understand why Krakatau exists at all, you have to go back to August 27, 1883, the day the original Krakatoa Island destroyed itself. The explosion was heard in Australia, nearly 5,000 kilometers away. It remains the loudest sound ever documented. The energy released was equivalent to 200 megatons of TNT, 13,000 times the power of Hiroshima. Tsunamis up to 30 meters high swept the coastlines of Java and Sumatra. More than 36,000 people died, most of them drowned, not burned. The sky turned black at noon. For months afterward, sunsets around the world burned vivid red and orange as ash drifted through the stratosphere, and painters across Europe recorded the unusual skies without knowing what had caused them. Global temperatures dropped by 1.2 degrees Celsius the following year. The explosion left behind a submerged caldera 6 kilometers wide. That caldera is still there, and the island growing inside it is now at level 3. Fishermen spotted steam rising from the old caldera in 1927. A new island was emerging from the water. It sank twice before establishing itself permanently above sea level on August 11, 1930. Scientists named it Anak Krakatau, child of Krakatau. It grew at an average rate of 7 meters per year. By September 2018, it had reached 338 meters above sea level. It had been erupting intermittently since 1994. The eruptions were small. Nobody had modeled what would happen if the material deposited over decades became too heavy, too steep, too unstable to hold. Nobody had built an evacuation plan for a tsunami that arrived with no earthquake as warning. The 2012 paper existed. The risk was documented. The tourists kept coming. And when the island finally failed, it failed in the one way the system was not built to detect. Krakatau sits where the Indo-Australian plate dives beneath the Eurasian plate along the Sunda Arc, one of the most seismically dangerous boundaries on Earth. This same fault system produced the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake, magnitude 9.1, the third largest ever recorded, and the tsunami that killed 230,000 people across 14 countries in a single morning. The seismic and volcanic hazards here are not separate events. They are products of the same tectonic machine, operating continuously beneath a strait flanked by Java, home to more than 150 million people, and Sumatra, home to approximately 60 million more. Indonesia has more active volcanoes than any other country on Earth, 127 in total. Krakatau is not the most active among them, but it occupies a uniquely dangerous position. A growing cone inside a deep caldera on the edge of an undersea cliff in one of the most densely populated straits in the world. That system is now at level 3 alert. After the 2018 collapse, Krakatau was reduced to approximately a quarter of its pre-collapse size, a truncated steaming remnant, but it has been rebuilding. Eruptions have continued through 2019, 2020, 2022, and into 2026. Ash plumes are rising 2.5 kilometers. Incandescent material is visible at the vent at night. The exclusion zone is 5 kilometers. New volcanic material is being deposited on the cone's flanks, built by the same processes on the same unstable geological foundation that failed in December 2018. A 2012 academic paper warned specifically that the conditions that made a collapse possible would recur as the island rebuilt. That is exactly what is happening now. Scientists at Indonesia's monitoring agency track seismic activity, ground deformation, and gas emissions continuously. The island that produced the 2018 tsunami without warning is actively erupting right now. The warning systems that failed that night have not been fundamentally redesigned. The question is not whether a flank collapse can happen again. The geology has already answered that. The question is whether the answer will reach the people on the beach in time. In 2018, the answer did not arrive. The flank failed at night during an eruption that had been running for months. On an island that scientists had flagged as a tsunami risk 6 years earlier, the band was still playing. The guests were asleep. The fishing families had no idea what was happening 24 minutes away. Krakatau continues to grow inside the caldera, left by its parent in 1883. Every eruption adds material to a cone sitting above a deep undersea cliff, in a strait where any displacement wave would reach populated coastlines faster than most warning systems can respond. The volcano that was heard on the other side of the world is still here. The child it left behind is now at level 3, and the strait between Java and Sumatra has not changed. If this opened your eyes, you might also like to watch this video.